Good day, viewers. You're welcome to your darling station, the Living TV. I want to welcome you once again to another edition of our Issues of the Moment. Issues of the Moment is a current affairs program of the Living TV. And today we'll be looking at the Abia State Orientation Agency. Fortunately enough, we have the DG, the Director General, is here with us. And my discussant today, from my far left, is Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwogu. Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwogu was a former commissioner for Public Complaints Commission here in the state, and also a security consultant, not just a security consultant, a public affairs analyst, and also a practicing lawyer here in Abia. Barrister, welcome to the program.
Thank you, moderator. Good day, viewers.
After whom I have Honorable Godwin Adendo. Honorable Godwin Adendo is a veteran journalist. He was the former press secretary to His Excellency Okeze Victor Basu PhD, not just the press secretary, but was the first press secretary who opened the door for others to get in, and currently the Director General of Abia State Orientation Agency. Honorable Adendo, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, our dear viewers. Welcome to this program.
All right. Honorable Adendo, I want to start with you because of the issue at hand. Abia State Orientation Agency, and as the Director General of the Orientation Agency, how long has this organization lasted in this state?
Yeah, the Abia State Orientation Agency was established by our governor, Dr. Okeze Basu, in this second tenure of his administration. And it's a novelty, and I believe it's the first time we're having this agency in operation in Abia State. And I think also Abia State is the first state that has deemed it fit and considered it important to have the orientation agency. We have the National Orientation Agency, and we have state directorates of the agency all over the federation. But for the first time, a governor thought it wise to also have his own branch of the orientation agency, in addition to the national that's also in the state. So this agency has lasted for about 3 years now, because it just came within the first months of the second tenure of the administration.
Okay, Council, I know you are an activist in this state, and also being an Abian and also a legal practitioner. Is there any difference between the National Orientation Agency and the state Orientation Agency? Because the National Orientation Agency are almost in all the local governments of the state here. And then talking about the State Orientation Agency, what can you say is the difference between the both?
Well, I think Doc had, in giving his own answer, equally proffered solution to this question, but for the sake of clarity, let me come at it again. Even from their nomenclature, by their names, National Orientation Agency, then the State Orientation Agency. Clearly, there is a difference in terms of nomenclature, but I would want to say that in terms of function, they do the same thing, which is aimed at social re-engineering, especially the thought processes of the citizenry. For the National Orientation Agency, their own jurisdiction would be nationwide, naturally, while that of Abia State would be limited necessarily to the geographical location of Abia State. But like I said, in terms of function, I would want to believe, though I stand to be corrected by the DG, who is the be all and know all about it. He also midwifed it. I think he's in the best position to tell us. But in terms of functions, I think they would be doing similar things, and I expect that their roles or activities are complementary to each other.
All right, Honorable Adendo, considering the assumed functions of the Abia State Orientation Agency, what has been your impact in voters' education to Abians?
Okay, before I even come to that, I want to clarify on the issue of differences and points of convergence between the National Orientation Agency and the State Orientation Agency. The concept is the same. The trust, the thematic trust is the same, and you can't really find so much difference. We could function together, and most of the programs we have had in this state, I brought the National Orientation Agency to partner with me in running such programs. The only difference perhaps is that, just as he noted, we are limited to the state, whereas the National Orientation runs the national ideas. The ideas come from the national. When the Abuja office comes up with a program, the whole state runs it. But here we're also operating, we are aligning ourselves with the peculiar circumstances of our state. We're able to define the peculiar needs of our state. There are certain things about Abia State that is not in all the states. We have our own peculiar needs, we have our own peculiar circumstances, we have our own peculiar cultural orientation and social orientation. We have also some peculiar things that happen here that don't happen in other places. So the Abia State orientation tries to be indigenous in the sense of looking at Abia and studying Abia's problem and trying to find a way to create awareness about Abia issues. So that is that. In the area of voters' education, which is also a key function of the Abia State Orientation Agency and even the National Orientation Agency, we have been doing so much in this. For instance, the Abia State Orientation Agency, even before we started the campaign, the primaries, we embark on visitations to organizations, youth organizations, market organizations, organized labor. We mapped out different societies that we needed to interface with and educate them on the need for active participation in the electoral process. Well, we all realized that over time, because of certain issues of governance, the polity became a kind of socially disengaged. There was this psychological withdrawal from the electoral process. Even as we were campaigning for people to go and get their PVC, people to go and get registered and all that, many people were just aloof about it. And the reason was that there was a psychological disconnect between the rulers and the followers. A lot of issues, a lot of complaints. People felt that they've not really felt the presence of government around them. So it was like we were doing it for a privileged few. All these things about election, about politics is just for a privileged few. That was the mentality here. But when we started visiting all those mapped out groups, we even went to schools, schools and talked to the students. We went to villages, we went as far as going to the villages. We used the already established institutions, the youths, the village youths, the village council, the women council, and those established institutions. We exploited them and used them to reach out to the larger mass of the people. And our emphasis was that, look, electoral education is something that is necessary. It's something that you need to know, where it's about your human right. You have that right to decide what happens about the way you're governed. It's not something you have to use. It's a role that you cannot abdicate as a citizen. It's an important role, it's an important function, and yeah, you need to get involved. You need to get your PVC. You need to know the profile of the candidates. You have to know the parties. Many of them didn't even know the parties that were contesting. You have to tell them the different parties, PDP, APC, Labour Party. You have to educate them, give them the profile of people who are contesting in their different local governments. we'll give them the profile of the candidates for House of Assembly and ask them to go and study them, but get involved. Get involved in voter, in the electoral process.
It's all right.
So in addition to this Thursday, this Thursday, just a few days away now, we're going to work with the National Orientation Agency. In fact, it is being led by the National Orientation, the Abia State branch. We're doing a motorized walk in Omai, where we're going to also campaign, give enlightenment on voters' education. That is the theme of that open field campaign that we're going to do on Thursday.
Okay. Council, you are an Abia, and also you also come from a particular village. And do you think there's been enough education on voters' registration, coupled with the complaints here and there about both those who are claiming that they are already disfranchised, even when the 2023 has not come? Do you think the agency has done enough work?
In terms of, I wouldn't really know, or rather, I wouldn't want to ascribe the success recorded in voter education to any particular agency or group. It's been holistic. The churches have played their role. The people in government at different levels have also played their role. Organizations like his, both at the national and state level, they've played their roles. The media, you guys have been fantastic and wonderful in the entire process. So the consciousness has been raised. The awareness is now there. Virtually every person is aware. Even children have this consciousness about the need to get involved in selecting leadership. The voters have been educated. Most unfortunately, the people that we are supposed to be voting for lack education. The people who are seeking political offices at virtually every level in Nigeria are, will I say, almost illiterate themselves in terms of voter participation. Those seeking offices are illiterate in terms of the participation, the relevance, the place of the voter. All they are interested in is how to get as many votes as possible. It doesn't end there. Neither does his own job end at educating us to go and vote. Indeed, the job of the orientation agency, both at the federal and state level, includes educating the people that we are going to vote for. Prof, that is an area, Doc, that's an area, this is my humble view, of course,
okay,
that I think, having dealt with one aspect, educating those that are going to vote, you now quickly need to go back, rejig, and educate those that we are going to vote for. Impress it upon their minds that it is one thing for you people to push us to call out people to vote. We have done that. People have registered and they look ready to vote. However, that the people will hold you accountable. I mean, it's a social contract. It is indeed. Put me there, I will do this. Yes, when they are churning out their respective manifestos, I will pull down the moon from heaven. The sun will be at your backyard. I will air condition every street in Nigeria. We've heard it several times, we've seen it all. I think it is now time for the orientation agencies to equally begin to hold the leadership accountable. That is my humble view.
Yeah, I think you are, just before you, let me just quickly add to what he said. You know, he is completely right, but the new electoral law, if you have taken time to study the new electoral law, that document has conferred a lot of powers to the populace. Okay? The entries, the manipulations that political jobbers used to know, political contractors used to do get victory, electoral victory. The new electoral law has doused it, has removed it completely. So the power is back to the electorates. Any man that has a PVC is the king of the electoral jungle. You understand? The days of political bigwigs, political juggernauts, those who can stay in their house and command the people on where to go and who to vote for, or stay in their houses and organize elections and take them to the local government and push it in. Those days are over. The electoral law has removed all that completely and returned the power back to electorates. So the people who are contesting election today they are on fire. That is why you see all of them running helter-skelter, because everybody has his PVC and his mind and his conscience. You can go to the air and induce them and try to gratify them with whatever you have, but you cannot know the heart. You know, Shakespeare says that there is no art to discover the mind's construction in the face. The electorates today have their heart and their mind, and they are ready to hold people accountable. They are ready now to hold people accountable. Things have changed a whole lot for good, and I am sure that the next dispensation is going to bring forth quality people, because they now know that at any point, at any stage of their rule, that they could be called to question, they could be held accountable. The people who have the PVC can always say no. There is nobody. Let's take for Abia for instance. There's no electoral contestant in Abia today that is sure of it right now. Okay. There is nobody that is sure of it right now, because you cannot ascertain what is in the heart of people. We are on the street, we are engaging them every now and then. We are only making the argument of record, saying, okay, this candidate has done this and this and this and this. Based on that, we can depend on him for better things to come. It's an argument. Whether we are winning the argument or not, the day of the elections will prove it, whether the people are accepting it. So the electoral law has made things very complex and complicated for the people who used to call themselves the political juggernaut and political bigwigs. So the only underlying solution is for people to be ready to show stewardship. If not, people, it will get to a point when you could even be called back or voted out at any point in time.
The power of recall.
The power of recall. You get to a point when you can even be called back. It has gotten to that point now. So, as I said, let me repeat it again for other people. There is no contestant that is sure of his victory right now. Maybe now then the DJ percent of the election agency is saying it. Because people have their heart and their mind. And the Bible says that the heart is deceitful above all things. And Shakespeare says there is no art to discover the mind construction in the face. So if you are contesting for election, go back to the grassroots and engage the man who has a PVC. The old manipulations are things of the past. Now people will go to the booth and put in their PVC. The camera will capture them and transmit the results straight to the main server. Right. So power has come back to the electorates.
Okay, you are sounding so assured in what you're saying about this new electoral law. Council, let me ask you. Recently, we heard about what is happening in Imo State, and considering the fact that we have computer wizards who can always hack into people's account, do you think that there will be no manipulation in this election?
The word rigging is not a Nigerian word.
Okay.
That means that even from the place where we got the democracy, the technology, the voting process and everything, from where we borrowed it, they are also aware of it. Whether they do it or not, and the extent to which they do it is a different thing. In the election that brought President Trump to office, recall that there was this accusation by the Democrats that Russia interfered with the electoral process of the United States. It was an issue that ran throughout the tenure of President Trump. Several investigations were on. As a matter of fact, they concluded not whether, the question was not whether Russia did it, whether there was outside interference, but it was to what extent, to what degree was that interference. And so having said that, it becomes difficult for you and I here in Nigeria to assume that we are going to have a foolproof electoral process. But I would want to say that we are relying on INEC, trusting in God and hoping and believing that such interferences would be minimal to such an extent that they would not really make much difference. That's why I said before that those involved, the leadership, they are illiterate and they need orientation themselves. Okay. What you refer to in Imo State, where some people there have gone to court secretly to get judgment or order, possibly at the last minute, such that nothing could be done about it. The election is on Saturday. The ruling or judgment will be given either on Thursday or Friday. Nobody can do anything. Maybe 3-4 p.m. on Friday, the judgment will come out, no more use of the beaver machines, and everybody will start running helter-skelter. That is why I said that those in leadership are illiterate. They need to be educated. They need to now realize, like Doc said, that the power has gone to the electorate. I agree that they are not willing to let go. They are struggling like a drowning person trying to clutch at a straw. But there, this is, for the sake of emphasis, let me repeat that the orientation agencies need to educate our leaders. They need to educate the politicians, those actually seeking for office, those who are against to themselves, leadership at all levels. It will be one thing after all this massive registration, and then one little thing truncates it. I think our legal profession, we also need to be educated. Nobody is beyond education. I would also suggest that, because we don't know who the judges that would be in the election tribunals would be, go out, don't limit your activities, sir. So I'm now talking to the orientation agencies through you, both federal and state. Go out also, after engaging the market women down there, you've succeeded to a large extent, engage those at the top who may be illiterate in several areas, though highly educated, learned, knowledgeable, and so on, but nobody is a repository of knowledge. Engage people on the need to refrain from taking certain steps that will truncate this laudable achievement, because we've come a long way. To be sad if we start, we do 5 steps forward and then 20 steps backward.
Yes.
All right. Before we go on break, I want to ask you, Honorable Laden, recently a particular group, agency, threatened to take INEC to court for about 7 million persons or more that have not registered. Did your agency do anything about that, or are you planning to do anything about that?
Well, our role as an agency is not to speak for INEC or to speak for a group that wants to sue INEC to court. Our role is creating awareness and enlightenment. Yeah. You know, our role is enlightening people. Awareness creation, enlightenment creation, changing attitudes. That is our role. We stop at, you know, there are
complaint of not having the voters card as an agency who is to enlighten and make sure people.
Our campaign, we have made interventions to INEC.
Okay.
We made interventions to INEC. We have pushed INEC. we have acted like a watchdog on INEC. We helped to push them, even as they were moving from place to place to get people registered. We added in pushing them, I made a lot of interventions on that, and they move around. Even as it is now, we've also asked them to go on and find out solutions to some of the complaints. There are so many complaints beyond those who have even threatened to go to court. There are so many complaints. But INEC is also, I can't sit here and say that INEC has not done well. INEC has done extremely well, better than they have done in the past, in trying to ensure that everybody gets registered. But there was this also attitudinal problem, which I said earlier. There was a psychological disconnect, which was the challenge of the orientation agency, and that's where we worked more, trying to build people's morale back again, build people's faith in leadership, in the political process again. And I think to a large extent, we have made some good progress.
Council, before we go on break, we cited Imo State as an example, trying to truncate, if it works out, this process we're talking about. We are talking about Imo because they're closer. What if such happens in other states?
Well, why Imo is a shining example for that particular infamy is that Imo is not going to join in the presidential, in the governorship election. Okay. They are having what you call staggered election. So the illiterate politicians in Nigeria might want to use that place as a fertile ground to experiment on their political tricks and gimmicks. So if you maybe go to try it in another state where governorship elections will be held, the results could be better imagined than actually experienced. So for Imo, yes, they could use one of the states that will be going into staggered election, that wouldn't participate in the general election. That's why. And we need to keep close watch on them. We need to keep close watch on such states. Monitor, that's why I said even the members of the legal profession, we also need the reorientation. We need the educating. We don't just wait until when the thing comes to the tribunal, you now bring people as expert witnesses. By then, you're trying to bolt the stable door after the horse has bolted.
All right, wonderful viewers, we are still on issues of the moment. We're going to go on a very short break. And when we come back, issues of the moment continues. Welcome back. Still on the program issues of the moment, and we are looking at the functions of Abia State Orientation Agency. I'm still here, Command Chinedum Adiele, and with our discussant here, Honorable Adendo. Yeah, one of your major functions is communicating government policies and promoting patriotism here in Abia State. And then when you talk about communicating government policies, how far has it gone, considering the number of local governments we have, and also the wards, the villages, and so on. How far has it gone?
Well, that is the major function of the Abia State Orientation Agency. We operate on a different model of communication. Okay, remember that we have the Commissioner for Information and the Information Ministry. They do a kind of direct communication of day-to-day activities of government. But the Orientation Agency, by its nature, our own tool of modus operandi, our own operation is engagement. You know, we're not supposed to go into propaganda. We're not supposed to go into how would I say it? We don't engage the opponents in a way. But what we do actually is to come down to the grassroots. It's just like what the missionaries do, a kind of evangelism style, and engage groups and people, go the extra mile in trying to explain the policy as it affects them, as it relates to them. You understand? Like the policy that the state's program of environmental protection agency, you know, which is run by the environmental protection agency. It's a broad program. It's an agency of its own. But as a orientation agency now, we go down to the people to teach them on how to package their refuse, how to dispose it, educate them also about the laws. There are laws around that operation. If you throw your waste in a wrong way, you could be arrested. You could be sanctioned. So we go, like that was even one of the first things that we did when the orientation came on board. We did a sweet march in Abia and Umuahia, where we demonstrated. We worked in partnership with the Abia State Environmental Protection Agency to teach the people, educate them on the process of moving the waste from their homes to the incinerators and to the baggage and all that. We taught all about that. And from there, we also went into this process of indigenous orientation. We try to sell or market the good side of Abia. There are so many things happening in Abia that are worthy of emulation, that people have not really come to know. There are great men that have come out of this state. Our students are doing exceedingly very well in many places. We have products that are indigenous to us here. So we try to project all that to show the good side of, just like what Dora Queen did when she was in the federal ministry, the good side of Nigeria, as against the bad narratives. We started telling the story of Abia. We did a profile of our good students who have made first classes, who are doing well. We did a profile of professionals of Abia in different places who are doing very well, who are on the top list of their professions. And we told the world, this is Abia. This is our indigenous products, and this is what we are made of. You know. So that is the style of orientation. Orientation is not really disseminating, communicating information per se. It's rather engaging the people and explaining like a teacher teaching a primary school student. You know, the way a primary school teacher teaches a primary school student is different from the way a tutor teaches the secondary students, and also it's also different from the way a lecturer walks into the class and starts talking about theories and ideas. So in the orientation style, I just gave the example of the missionary evangelism style. In my church, we call it lay activity. You know, you reach the people at home and begin to talk with them. So that's partially and generally what we have done in trying to communicate our governor's policy one-on-one. Several of them. We have done programs. Most of the times we do a workshop. We invite a special group that are related to that policy, and we now explain to them and also induct them into being ambassadors of that policy, so that they can also communicate that policy wherever they are. We have done so much with the market associations in Abia and Umuahia, you know, explaining certain policies around the market issues. We've done so much in the area of education. We've gone to schools. We've gone to school to reorientate our students. We did a lot on on drug intake, anti-drug campaign. We did a lot of anti-drug campaign. And when I did that anti-drug campaign, I visited the NDLA office in Abia, and to my amazement, I saw there were a lot of inmates, a lot of drug victims. They have a kind of hostel there, housing even that guys who were deported from abroad, who are drug victims. They're all there, and we talked, together. We shared ideas. They told me what they were doing, and I brought my own ideas, and they lectured me, and we came up with ideas. And I did a profile of different substances that our youth were taking by that time, and I got about 50 different substances. We know of heroin, cocaine, India hemp, boromini, and all that. There are several that they showed me. There are some mixtures, one or two things they mix together that have intoxicating effect. So many things. I cannot even mention them. If I say it in the open, some people might even go and start trying it. So we did an anti-drug campaign that was very, very successful, and I think we were able to change some of our youth, because we even visited some bunks, the places where they go to smoke or drink. So we visited some of them, sat down with them, disguised as people who were also part of them. You
don't look. Nothing on earth will make anybody see you as a drug.
I tried as much as possible to disguise as a donkey. I wore a rugged jeans.
Did you look rugged?
I wore a rugged jeans, and I removed my glasses. I tried to appear like that, and I started with them.
You tried to mix up?
Yeah, I tried to mix up with them, and I started talking to them. We even organized the lectures for them. Some of them came. Some student bodies helped, and also came, told us the issues in their schools and how these boys get, introduced into those peer pressure. So we've really done so much. But just as I said, our style is different. The orientation agency style is different from the core Ministry of Information style.
Okay, literally speaking, Council, when you talk about communicating government policy and the promotion of patriotism, most often when you hear that, it looks as if the thing is just urbanized. What? Because I understand that in your agency, you are even supposed to come down to the dialects of the people who are involved. Council, do you think that this thing has really gone down to our villages as it's supposed to be?
I am happy with the efforts Doc has reeled out that they've been making so far. He's my friend and brother, and of course I know his pedigree before now, that he's making the effort. But they don't seem to be succeeding that much. They are making progress, I concede that. However, I think it's also personal belief that more and better progress would have been made if they had also channeled some energy towards educating those in leadership at certain levels, particularly at the local government levels. When you get down to some people, not everybody, to some people who administer offices at the local government levels, many of them, their activities are, let me also be mild. I'm trying to be mild in my choice of words, but it's nothing to write home about. For example, we live in Abia. Despite all the efforts being made, there is this thing about collection of plastic or polythene waste in the markets. All our drains are filled with it, pure water sachet. But you go to the market, the leadership of the market, they have something, a particular amount that people pay, traders pay, so that they will mop up this refuse. They are all interested in collecting the money, the revenue. If you don't collect, if you don't pay, they will descend on you. But at the end of the day, is the job done? No. They need to be educated. People are plying a particular road, and without any warning, you wake up one morning and pronounce it a particular one-way channel. There is nothing showing the other man who lives at Obo Hill that you have designated Ngwa Road to be one way. He drives there, and some young men in plain clothes, looking very rough, not looking like government workers, not looking like civil servants, not looking like any person with authority, but just armed with sticks and that have nails. They just jump out and hold you and things like that. That is why I keep on saying that the leadership, especially at that level, they need to be educated. The education shouldn't be one way, no. As you're also telling the people, you should equally have a feedback mechanism that enables you to generate responses that would guide the leadership as to how to move. So the thing has to be like a give and take. It has to be like a give and, yeah, the people keep on, you pile everything on them. But when they have a feedback, there should be a mechanism to send it back up, at least to certain level. Everything shouldn't go to the governor of the state. He has his hands full. Everything shouldn't pile up on his table. Yes, those are the respective local governments, the chairmen, the heads of service, the heads of personnel management, and so on. They should be alive to their responsibilities.
All right, before we go, I want to ask this because it's like the level of touting in this town is increasing on daily basis.
It's too much.
And then recently a court of competent jurisdiction declared the one called TMAS illegal. And even as we speak, they are still operating. Honorable Laden, do your agency have a hand in also educating such agencies? You know about them. They are existing. And the other day, they had to push out a girl from this mini KK bus at Brass Junction there. And they do whatever they do with impunity. And now that they've been declared illegal, and yet they are still operating, you still see them in so many junctions. Is your agency doing anything about that?
Yeah, our agency has a role to talk to every spectrum of Abia society. We, as a state established agency, we have the right to engage every group, ministries, agents, other agencies, other parastatals, any other group that we suspect are doing something that is contrary to the original vision of the government. We have the right to intervene to the extent that we could give them orientation, you know. And we have done that. We have tried our best to engage motorists. For the time we did the campaign throughout all the motor parks in Abia, talking about the dangers of even alcohol intake inside the parks, you know. We also engage these, we have also gone to the local government leadership to talk about those towers. But our shocking discovery is that even some of the local government leadership don't even have control over those towers. It's an underground lineup that you can't really hold your hand to. And for most of them, it's a kind of, I don't know, I can't say all that I want to say publicly.
Okay, why are you holding it there? Why are you holding it there?
Well, for some of them,
I know. Before now, the local government authority, they have the areas, what they cover, what they do in terms of these revenues and so on. But today, don't you think that the government is part of these touting? Because most of these things are now sold out. And the people they are sold to now invite most of these boys.
Yeah, you cannot say unilaterally that government is part of touting. the word touting.
I didn't say government. I said they sell out some of
The word
these like you talk about not only ASEPA, and so many of them. You see these boys hired in these small keke buses, embarrassing people on the way.
That's what I said.
And when you talk about
nuisance, bringing very bad name to the government.
That is exactly what it is. And every other person will always want to say, Kokezie may not know about it, the governor of the state may not know about it. But they see this thing on daily basis. What have they done about it? What is your agency's recommendation about this? Because the government, the local government do nothing now. They are basically relaxing in their various offices.
Let me just give you an instance. Let me also correct the word that government, the word touting cannot be an identity of any government. It's not the identity of the government of Okezi Ikpasu. Okezi Ikpasu from day one has frowns at all these excesses.
Abia State.
Of course, you know that
anybody, in fairness, anybody can wear anything.
You know there was this group that was operating in Abia at a point. If you park your car anywhere before you come back, they have removed your car plate number.
And you go to the local government, you will collect it.
Yes.
Most of the time they were not even in the, because when I investigated it, when they took my car plate number, they didn't know that I was the DG of orientation agency. So I went to the.
I'm happy you have suffered.
That was a visit of it.
That was investigation for you.
Yeah, so I went to the two local government, Abia North and South, and I discovered that they were not even quartered in the local government. They were in the park, and they were operating from one small store in the park. And before I could approach there, the whole place the air was engulfed with the smell of marijuana. India hemp was already all over the air in that place. I know. Yeah.
Did you pay?
I didn't pay, of course. Some interventions came and they even apologized and returned medicine. But that opened my eyes.
Because you were involved.
Because I was involved.
Which the ordinary man on the street may not have.
People have been embarrassed. People have suffered. Even this group that
they even collected the vehicle of a sitting high court judge in Abia State. Took my own intervention. I'm the one saying it.
Exactly.
He took my own intervention.
Because of course, you know that by the time we did our reports to the governor stopped them automatically. They were, of course, you don't see them again.
It was most embarrassing.
The governor stopped them automatically. Okay. So even this other group now that barge into people's car, you are trying to drop somebody, they just barge in like they wear black. I think they're operating from Abia North. I've engaged them. They've entered my car many times, and I'll stop and I'll show them my ID card as DJ operator, and I'll start engaging them and I'll talk to them. And many times I've gone to the local government to actually find out who authorized them under the department they are working. It's a shadow. You can't hold it together, my brother. It's not everything you say in public.
When the honorable commissioner for youth now was the chairman of the local government, it happened to me. I had to call him. I asked him, are these your boys? He said I should hold on and get back to me. Let him call the man who is. So I think the government is just about last month or last week at this new market. Where other vehicles were parked. By the time I came out, I didn't see my vehicle again. They had to do it. Tabas out. So you see, when people talk about pointing accusing fingers of the government may actually not know, but they are seeing all this.
Yeah, but we also need to realize there are genuine government workers driving city decency, trying to establish decorum in the city, giving you the proper place to park, the place not to park. There are authentic government agencies driving that. Our only problem is that there are other shadow bodies, kangaroo bodies that are imitating those people and working for certain organ that we cannot really get to. You understand? In every city of the world, Lagos and everywhere, if you don't establish decorum, you cannot even move. You cannot have an organized society. You cannot have order.
I agree.
You understand?
But let it be backed by rule of law.
Exactly. So we cannot have a society without law and order. It can't work.
Yeah,
most of those people that have stolen your car. Sorry. Most of the time, people that have stolen your car, it could also have been that you parked in the wrong place.
You were obstructing.
You are obstructing the road. So there are other established government agencies that will also sanction you because you have obstructed the road.
No, let me ask.
Yeah, but what I don't
But let the
agree.
fine be known.
Yeah.
And when you pay, be issued with
A receipt.
proper
Receipt.
government revenue receipt.
I agree with that.
Now,
The fine should not be negotiable.
like mine, I went there, they said
250,000.
there,
Then you say, we should downwards.
yes, well, just give us the money for the towing van. I said, but I didn't send you.
Yeah.
And now, believe me, you all
those are the areas we need to we need to remedy those areas. You know, people go to market, put some uniform on themselves, and start acting like the original agency. You know, and nobody is monitoring them, and nobody is calling them.
Honorable, before we go, what is your organization doing? Because I understand also one of your functions is to mobilize a favorable public opinion. How do you get, in terms of feedback and in communication, how do you get back to the government about the opinion?
Most of us in the orientation agencies are also communicators. I'm a career journalist first and foremost, so that so that it cannot be ignored again. You know, so we have channels of communication from between us. We are acting as intermediary between the public and the leadership. So there is no chairman of any local government in Abia that I call on phone and I say, look at what is happening in your local government, and I'm worried about it. I'm going to escalate to the governor. He will start begging me and say, wait, if you see it next week, please go ahead. I've had such.
I know you are.
I've had such.
I know you are a government agent, having been the first press secretary to the Mr. Governor as well. But what is your personal assessment of Abia State government?
Right.
Government
Right
generally,
now,
as we speak.
the assessment of the Abia State government right now speaks for itself. I don't think anybody who was in Abia State from 2014 to today cannot have an objective and an unbiased assessment of this current government. You understand? I don't like to talk about it because it is self-evident. It is clear. It is something that speaks for itself.
Okay. So
before then, you cannot pass, by 2014, you cannot pass from Omola to Ehere. You cannot pass from Abia Junction to Ukebu Road. You cannot pass through. Which one would I say? Which one would I say?
Okay.
Abia was in the backwater. It was an abandoned, desolate city.
Okay, Council, that's something I'm going to ask you, and that's where we'll be capping the program. What is your assessment of this government as we speak?
He has said it all.
He said what you equally
He has said it all.
All right, wonderful viewers. This is where we're going to end today's program on issues of the moment. Remember, tomorrow, Nigeria Today will take place with your darling station, the Living TV. Keep watching Living TV. We have a lot of programs to keep you happy. Also, remember, on Saturday, the Living TV Club. Come to our office at number 1 George Street, opposite Iziama Police Station, and make inquiries about Living TV Club. You'll be so happy you did. From my far left again is Barrister Chukwemeka Mwago. Barrister Chukwemeka Mwago, thank you for being part of the program.
Thank you, sir.
And Honorable
viewers.
Godwin Adendo, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, my dear viewers.
And this is Chineduma Dele signing off. Keep watching Living TV. Bye for now.
way to go. I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Many years after independence, we still find it hard to start. How long shall we be patient before we reach the promised land? Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Tell me which way to go. I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Yes, I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Every little thing that goes wrong, we start to blame the government. We know everything that goes wrong because we are part of the government. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Tell me which way to go. Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Inefficiency and indiscipline is ruining the country now. Corruption here, there, and everywhere. Inflation is soaring high. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh sure, sure. I want to know. Yes, I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. We made mistakes during the oil boom, not knowing that was our doom. Some people now have everything, while many, many have nothing. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't fall. Which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Yes, I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Green revolution is a reality. Let's give it a chance to grow. Let's join our hands to farm the land so we can have enough food to show. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Way to go. I love my fatherland. Oh sure. I want to know. Yes, I want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Our ambition to be millionaires is running the country down. We all want to be millionaires and to live in the air. Oh, let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Which way to go? Which way to go? I love my fatherland. Oh yeah. I want to know. Yes, we want to know which way Nigeria is heading to. Remember that a simple step is the beginning of a million miles. Let's start right now to rebuild ourselves so as to make the country smile. Let's save Nigeria, so Nigeria won't die. Which way Nigeria? Which way? Which way Nigeria? Heaven and earth will pass away. It is written in the book of Amen.